Ibou, man, what's up?
Nothing much, man. I'm chilling here in my room
Well,
eating a pot pie, you know?
yeah, hell yeah, man. Thank you for making your debut on Brace for Impact. I greatly appreciate it. I was surprised to see you watching Bound for Glory tonight, man. What did you think of the show?
Yeah, I was in and out, to be honest, because, the Yankees were on, and I was
Hey, is
multitasking.
my jersey offensive to you right now? My bad.
It hurts my feelings a little bit, just a little bit,
Yeah.
but what are you going to do? Look, I'll say this, for what I caught of the show, and I caught a lot of the earlier parts, I thought it was largely very good, honestly, up to a point,
Yeah.
you know? I thought Macklin and Alexander had a good one. I was a fan of their match. Vikingo and Speedball had a good opener. PCO is always fun. I'm surprisingly not tired of his shtick, even though he's been doing it for a while now.
Yeah.
So that was good. I only unfortunately caught the finish to Masha and Jordan, so I can't really speak on that match.
I would say for you, I think you should probably go back and check that one out when you get a chance.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the better matches of the show. It took a while to get going, but by the end of the match, they really had the crowd into it.
I buy that. Look, Jordan Grace is awesome. I think she's one of the best American women's wrestlers there is out there. So it doesn't surprise me. My big takeaway from the show though was for me, Mike Santana and Moose.
Yeah.
I really respect Mike Santana. I think he's I don't know if you saw me just losing my mind on Twitter, but I dropped a bunch of yelling, screaming voice notes at the end of his match because I feel really passionately about the fact that this guy bet on himself and took a chance because he was somebody that was pretty vocal with his dissatisfaction with his role in AEW at the end there. And a lot of fans kind of like dunked on him and clowned on him and were like, man, just grab that tag rope, man. Just do, if you want to get back on TV, just be a fucking tag wrestler. But at the end of the day, it's something he didn't want to do. And he really saw something in himself that the promoter didn't see. And that's fine. That's wrestling sometimes. But what he did about it was he took initiative and just fucking left. And it wasn't like he was jumping into a big pit of money in WWE or anything like that. No, he said, I'm gonna grind in the indies and we'll see what happens. And he went to TNA. And look, man, he's got himself in better shape. He's in better shape. He has a better look. He has a full name. And he's having good matches, man. And in this match with Moose, I thought he looked great, like actively great. And so I was just so happy for him that he had that performance. I thought that match was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And so I was really into that one. And what else? Yeah, I was a fan of the Alexander match, like I said. I liked the opener. I caught the like last few minutes to the Hendry Nemeth deal. And I was just kind of like, okay, that's fascinating, I suppose.
So that match, do not go back and watch.
Gotcha. I buy that. I'm not a
start to finish. It was pretty bad. And I'm not like a Joe Hendry hater. Like I just see him for what he is. And I think you need guys like that in the space. Like like not everybody can be the same, right? So you got a guy that's got a ton of charisma. He has a shtick. He has a gimmick. It's caught fire. It's over right now. I don't think anybody can deny that. So I happen to enjoy him, and I thought he should have won the title. But I think we're starting to see what TNA really sees in him, and they made him lose again.
It's just fascinating to me because I'm not a Henry guy.
Yeah.
But he is, like, to my eye, TNA's most popular wrestler in terms of crossing over past their fan base and making an imprint and a dent on social media. And when he didn't win in the multi-person match that they did a couple like recently, I assumed, okay, he's gonna get a singles match. He's gonna get through some guys, and he's gonna have a singles match for the title at Bound for Glory. And come Bound for Glory, here we are. It's him and Nemeth. And once I saw that this wasn't the main event, I was like, oh, he's not winning this thing.
Yeah.
And then my next question was, well, why? So I think I'm gonna assume the thinking here is we may not have much juice in 2025. And so we're going to build our year around him chasing. Maybe. I don't know if that's the case, but that was my assumption was, okay, we're going to make these people really want this thing. Even though he's already been chasing for months, maybe they're just going to elongate it. And now the chase is what they're going to build like the first half of next year around. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no,
that's what I'm assuming.
I think that you're right. I think everybody's saying that he's probably going to be leaving soon. I think Sean Ross Sapp has been pretty clear that he's around for a while. And now they just broke the news earlier tonight that Impact, the TV show, is going live in 2025, at least for the first episode. January 23rd, they're going to go live, which is not something that they've done since the Spike TV days. So they that might be the thinking. They might think that, like, hey, like, we're going to try to turn him into our Cody, and we're going to do all this stuff. I just don't know how much longer this guy can stay as over as he is, because he's not Cody. He's much more limited performer than Cody is. And so I don't know. But you know what? Like, every time I think that, like, they've blown it with him, he just continues to stay over, and he's actually gotten more over. Tonight, like, he was next to Jeff Hardy. He came across as like the biggest star on the show.
Yeah, he's getting over and staying over is his biggest skill as a performer. And so when I look at Joe, like, to me, I don't think TNA is in a position to play around with that type of thing. You know, like, if I'm in their position, I'm not going to risk that type of thing. But to the credit of Joe, he just finds a way usually. And it's been a couple of years at that. But yeah, I don't know. Like you just said, he's not Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And they are, as a promotion, are not in a position to just try their luck with fans and fan patience. You know, it's not like an institution as a whole that the fans believe in, to where they're going to just be patient with TNA for months and care that enough. Maybe they do, but to take that gamble is just very risky, in my opinion.
Yeah. The good news for TNA is they're owned by their television station, so they're not in any type of danger. They, like, nobody watches the TV show because nobody has that channel. But I think they're banking on, like, this whole thing continuing to do well at the box office, which has done very well. I mean, they have since June, they have really been kicking ass in ticket sales. Yeah, if you ask the company, they will tell you that app subscriptions are way up, but they will not tell you what those numbers are. they'll just tell you that it's up, and then pay-per-view buys are up according to Meltzer. So, like, I think they're like, hey, we got something going on here. Let's just keep it going, and then at the maybe next year in 2025 is when we'll finally pull the trigger.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I am really happy to see, like, their attendance is doing as well as they have been recently. Like, every paper I tune into, it looks like there's a nice house there, and, like, you can't take that for granted, because they were not in this position 2-3 years ago.
They weren't in this position 8 months ago. Like,
exactly.
So they did 2 shows in Vegas at the Pearl at the Palms, which I don't know if you've ever been there at the Palms, but that's a really big time casino, and then you can get a lot of walk up traffic there. So you can sell tickets there pretty easily. So I was like, okay, they're doing well in Vegas at the Palms at the Pearl, which I've been to a few times. I was like, okay, that's one thing, but can they go to these other cities where they don't really have, like, a big walk-up crowd? They don't have a bunch of drunks at the craps table walking over to see wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, can they do that everywhere? Well, they didn't for a while, but it wasn't until June, when they went to Chicago and they brought in the Hardys, that really everything started clicking. And then, of course, putting Joe Hendry on NXT television.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of those things. I think it was, like, the buzz from, like, the perceived NXT partnership, and you have Matt and Jeff there, and regardless of how I feel about them right now, which is, I think they're just not. They don't have it anymore. The bottom line is they have cachet, and they still mean something.
Dude, they're the most, like, it's them and Hendry, the most over acts in the entire company.
Yeah,
it was so funny. I was they were at the Pistons game the other night with Joe Hendry, and they got a huge ovation. Everybody's going crazy for them. And then if you take a look at Darby Allin, who was at the Lions game, or no, he was at a Seahawks game earlier in the week. They panned over to him, they announced him, and, like, nobody said shit. Like, they had no idea who that guy was. I'm like, well, really? The Hardys have been on television for 25 years. They've just been over forever. So they're still a pretty big deal.
Wow. I mean, I believe it. Listen, I was at Dynamite in Newark in January, and the Hardys came out for Rampage, and, like, the live audience around me treated it as, well, we can't leave Rampage because this is our chance to finally see the Hardy Boys. Yeah. And there was just, like, an inherent, like, respect and happiness to see them. So I buy that. I buy that completely. Again, they still carry weight. Their names have that cachet. It's why, like, when I saw the Hendry match wasn't closing, I was like, that's kind of interesting. But then I realized like the Hardys are closing this thing and they're probably winning the tag belts, and that's exactly what they did. They opted for that, and hilariously, like the people were treating this thing like they won like the World Series. They were treating this thing like it was the biggest deal in the world. When to me, I'm like, it's just the Hardys winning the TNA's tag belts, but these people like they're like losing their fucking minds for this thing. And I was just like, I was so beside myself because it's like, to me, it wasn't a big deal, and I also didn't think the match was very good at all. But again, like to these people, it just doesn't matter. Like it's Matt and Jeff. They grew up on them. Like I said, it's 25 years of just cachet and memories and nostalgia and all of that. So I think TNA is going to keep running that horse and going to that well until it stops proving to be financially beneficial for them.
Until one of them ends up in prison.
Exactly. So I think that trio, that combination of the Hardys and Joe Hendry, that's going to be their money pairing from a business standpoint as we go into next year.
Yeah. Just a couple last things before I let you go. Thank you so much for spending some time. I really appreciate it. Talking some TNA with us, man. You don't get a chance to talk TNA very often. You're always kind of caught up in WWE and AEW stuff. So I think it's pretty cool that you're on a TNA show. What did you think of Josh Alexander defeating Steve Macklin? Kind of, since we kind of know that like come February, he's probably going to be wearing a different color jersey.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when Macklin came to TNA, they invested so much in him, and they really gave him a really well done push, I thought. And the reinvention of him and the presentation and everything, like I was actually really pleasantly surprised by how that whole thing came off, right?
Yeah.
But since then, I think since the title push and all that, like he's kind of like settled at a certain level, and that's the level that they are happy to keep him at. And he didn't beat Josh here, which I didn't look back like, what, really? Like it was just kind of like, yeah, like Josh is just above the totem pole. But to your point, he very well may be departing relatively soon. And traditional wrestling booking, conventional wisdom suggests that you phase that guy down and you put over the guys that you'll have longer than the guy that's about to leave. But they didn't do so here. That'll be something to monitor. Josh's finishes will be something to monitor as you get to like January, I think.
Well, he's lost 3 pay-per-views in a row, in convincing fashion each and every time. Twice was with his own finishers. Like Nick Nemeth defeated him with his own pile driver, and then Joe Hendry tapped him out with the ankle lock.
Yeah.
So with this one, what I think they're doing is I think they're going to try to get like a 3-match series with Macklin. And so if you're going to do that, you probably want the heel to go over first. And I think that's where they're going. And that's why they did the whole zip tie thing. So now Macklin looked like a bad son of a bitch. He didn't tap out. He passed out. And I think they're going to try to get some more juice out of that. And then probably in January, Macklin will finally beat him. But that seems like logical booking to me. But then I remember I'm talking about fucking TNA and like anything.
Right. No, but what you said makes total sense. It's that you have a pay-per-view in January with Genesis, and the fashion with which Macklin lost, it lends itself to doing repeat matches, and so you could do something inconclusive at maybe a big TV episode or something in the main event, and then you shoot some angles and you build this and you take it right to January. So the way you laid that out there, it does set up for Macklin to be the big project that like is Josh Alexander's focus before he gets out of here. So that would make sense, and I'm all for that. I think, again, like I said, I think Macklin right now in his career is in the right place. I think he's reinvented himself well, broadly speaking, and there's still more to do. So when they tried to really make him the guy last time, it didn't 100% land, but they did kind of like they did really. He forged his lane in TNA is the best way I could say. You know what I think? Like the ideal TNA run for an ex-AEW or WWE talent is a run where you go here and you find yourself again and you almost reinvent yourself and tinker with your presentation and your role and everything. And that's what Mike Santana has done. That's what Macklin has done. And so
That's what Big Bill did when he was W. Morrissey. It was the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Big Bill is just him taking what worked for him in TNA over to AEW. That's totally true. Because he didn't just do big casts in TNA. No, he reinvented himself and took it over. And I think that's a healthy place to be in the wrestling ecosystem, is being a number 3 promotion in America, where guys can go there and get paid and do their thing, and also kind of like figure things out a bit and then before leaving. I think that's very healthy, actually. And that's a necessary promotion to have in the world, in the ecosystem. You need places like that. And so, again, I digress. The point is, Macklin being the last project for Alexander to kind of work on and get over before leaving, that's totally fine by me. And I think Macklin's a talented guy, and I'll be watching the repeat matches, because I like the one they had tonight. I thought it was a good match.
Yeah, they had a really good match last year at Victory Road in September, so it'd be September of 2023. They were supposed to have a pay-per-view match last year, but Josh ended up getting hurt, and that's when Macklin won the title over Kushida. So they ended up doing the match in the fall, and it was a very good match. It was one of my matches of the year for TNA, and then I saw what they did tonight. Tonight was more of an angle, but it was still a very good match, but it ended with an angle. So that means I get more of these matches, and that makes me pretty happy, because these are 2 of my favorite guys. So I'm a big fan of both of these guys. But Ibou, man, I really appreciate you hopping on, dude. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and do like a recap the rest of the show, and I'm going to put the link here in the chat and see if anybody else wants to pop on. But I greatly appreciate you being here, dude.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it. Anytime, if I'm available, you could always call on me. And best of luck with the rest of the show, man.
All right, man. You take care. Have a good night.
Have a good one.
All right, guys. That was Ibou of WrestlePurists. I really always love talking to him, man. He gets a bad rap. He's such a smart dude about pro wrestling. So.